Chapter 2, In-Game. Gary Preston won't be coming with us to Paris. Instead, I have the pretty pathologist Dr. Sally Fell as my companion. The night after the autopsy, we both go to stay at his house in Hampstead, and he treats us to a fine dinner with French wine to get us into the mood. I sleep heavily until around 5 a.m, when I'm woken by a strange dream about a man wearing a silver mask wandering about my house, looking for me, with a pack of cards in his hand. After that, I can't settle. It gets light. When I hear movement downstairs, I haul myself out of the crisp white sheets of my bed and stumble into the shower. Downstairs in the light and airy kitchen, I have kippers for breakfast, sitting opposite Sally, who is beautifully tousled after her own shower. She doesn't say much, just eats her muesli. Preston's there to show us in, then disappears who knows where, to come back just as I'm polishing off my last kipper and mopping up the tomato sauce with brown bread. "Ready?" he says. "Ish," I say with a grin. My brain itches as I say the word as if it's been listening to me, the kind of itch you can't scratch, mainly because it's right in the middle of your brain. Sally nods, finishing her muesli. She's been silent as we sit at the breakfast table, so much so that I think she's rude or doesn't like me or something. But I now realise her silence is due not to rudeness, but to fear. I could ask her what she fears, but it's obvious. Eating done, Preston shows us through from the kitchen, down a bright, neatly painted passage and down a half flight of steps into a room that has maybe been a big pantry when the house was built in the 1800s. Laid out in the room are top-of-the-range VR rigs with brand new versions of the Miskatonic trademark neural nets. Preston points, and I lie down on the mesh bed designed to minimize pressure damage when the player is lying down for a long time. The haptic suits are a thing of the past. The Dreamland inducer tablets mean the virtual reality experience is all in the mind. A game in a dream, but realer than real. Gary gestures. "When you log in, make your way to Croydon Airport." I nod at Sally. "How will I recognise you?" There's a bed next to mine, identical in every way, but she doesn't get onto it. I guess she's going to enter the game later. Sally gives a tense grin, trying to overcome her nerves, I guess. She says, "I'll be wearing a red rose in my lapel." "Really?" She laughs. "I'll try to find one." Now the talking is over, and the nerves are building up in the room. I lie on the mesh bed and put on the neural net. The itching in my head grows stronger, and I scratch uselessly at the scalp. Preston smiles at that, even though it isn't funny. He says, "And that is why we're doing it. The itch in my head. The itch in everyone's head. It's not an option to do nothing." "I know." A pause. "Are you scared?" "Not so much. Truth is, I don't feel scared inside. More numb now. I don't know what to expect." He raises an eyebrow. "You're about to face the great old ones and you're not scared." I give a wry smile. I'm too lacking in imagination to be scared. Anyway, I've done it before. He studies me to see if I'm joking. Then he must think I am because he laughs out loud. "Good man. I'm glad you're on my side." I'm not comfortable. I squirm on the mesh bed. "Where are the tablets?" He indicates with a quiet point of his finger. There's a steel beaker sitting in a recess on a shelf to my left attached to the mesh bed. In the beaker are 6 or 7 Miskatonic trademarked Dreamland inducer tablets. I'll only need one for this trip, so it seems Preston is planning a return a few times. As that sinks in, I don't know whether to be reassured or unnerved. I try to ground myself, the numbness fading into disquiet. I look around before I reach for the tablets. The room is pleasantly warm, but not too hot. It smells clean, if it smells of anything. Preston stands back and watches us. He doesn't seem to see any further need to chat, standing there in his expensive suit and leather loafers. I shrug, take the shiny white pill from the beaker and feel its smoothness between my finger and thumb, and with a second's hesitation, pop it into my mouth. It tastes vaguely sweet, sugar-coated. I slip on the goggles. The room fades. The pictures in front of my eyes get brighter. First the logo, then the graphics and the loading music, until that too fades, and I materialise on Hampstead Heath, sitting on the bench on Parliament Hill from where Preston and I watched the old gods dance over the city of London. It's a bright day. Some cloud high up and a breeze from the south that brings the smell of old leaves with it. Damn clever how they do this smell. I take a minute to orientate myself. It's true. I'm back in Darkworlds. An alert pings on my HUD, and when I check it, it's from Preston's in-game avatar, the level 20 paladin Guy Philby. It reads, "Check with the Strand branch of Coots & Co. We've put money into your account." I have a shilling or so in change in my pocket, and I get a ticket into central London to check out my newfound wealth. As I see the train approach with the rush of hot air and the roar of metal on metal, I still can't get over the detail of Darkworlds. I step onto the tube train and it moves off. The NPCs look real. They chatter like real people, and as I stand hanging on the leather strap as the tube train jolts underground, I hear snatches of their conversation. So I say to him, "Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, there it is. What'd you get married for if you don't want children? You ought to be ashamed, you look so antique." And I recognise the lines from Eliot's Wasteland. Brilliant old Miskatonic. Next thing, we'll be hearing lines from Ezra Pound. The tube train stops at Charing Cross and I get off before the doors slide shut again and take me somewhere I don't want to go. I make my way across the platform among rain-coated men and gabardined women, all with hats, some smoking stinking woodbines, others aromatic Turkish tobacco. Then, at a knot of people where I have to wait while they stride up the tiled steps, a man, short, dark-haired, trilby-hatted with a sinewy brow, turns, looks me in the eye and says, "The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough." Then he turns and vanishes into the crowd. My heart hammers because the game is listening to me. Somehow it's got inside my head and read my thoughts about Ezra Pound, then it made them real. The quote is definitely from Pound's in the station of the Metro, appallingly appropriate too. I know the game is inside me. I saw the wet silk strands of protein weaving through a dead stranger's brain, and I know from the itch they're inside mine too, breeding insidiously, growing, sticking their tendrils into my thoughts. Darkworlds is watching me. I stand with computer-generated men and women shoving me until my shock passes and I join the flow. The ecology of Darkworlds is full of a seething mass of intelligence and personalities. First, or maybe actually way down the list of importance, is we, the players. We live in real bodies and enter Darkworlds by way of neural nets and psychedelic tablets. Other intelligences never leave this place. These are the NPCs. Some are fixed, while others move around in a circumscribed route. Then there are the mobs, the monsters. Who knows what they are? And above them, with varying levels of sentience, are those sections of code that have become alive and have power over all the rest of us that inhabit this space. They are our gods. Some are idiots, some are brilliantly intelligent, but our lives and our sanity are in their power. And every intelligence in Darkworlds, from mine to Azathoth to the very NPC train guard, wants something. That's what we have in common. Desire. As I walk, I wonder about the game itself. Is it a thing? Does the game have a personality? Is it this personality that's playing games with me, quoting lines of poetry? Jesus Christ, that's scary. I shudder, but the truth is, I don't know. Anyway, I have a job to do and I can't get sidetracked. I have to get to Paris, but first to Croydon Airport. I exit Charing Cross Station past a replica of the Edward I Charing Cross Monument. As I get close to the column, I can't resist touching it and feel the warm, rough stone, apparently 1,000 years old, under my hand. Except it isn't. It's all fake. It's all a simulation. I take a second where the throng isn't as thick and I check my map. On the HUD, I search for Coots & Co., and soon there's a little red point blinking and a gold trail of dots that leads off to my right. I've been down this part of London before, so the fog of war effect is cleared from my HUD. If I was in a new place, all around me would be obscure until I explored it. I follow the trail of golden breadcrumbs and just avoid getting killed by a red double-decker London bus, and as I scoot out of the way, a black taxicab honks the rubber bulb of his horn in indignation. But then I'm at Coots. I walk up to the front desk and a man in a morning suit lifts his chin in greeting. "Good morning, Reverend." I almost forgot I'm a vicar in the game and I'm wearing a clerical collar over a black shirt. I study the man who's watching me, unsmiling and unspeaking. I know he's an NPC, but they've modelled the disdain just right. He's a teller in a high-class bank, the King's Bank, and here I am in my stained raincoat with a bulge under both shoulders where I have both my Browning and my Walther PKK holstered. "I'd like to check my account, please," I say. He nods, still without cracking a smile. "Can I ask your name, sir?" "Adam Cadmon." I spell it with a C. To those with a more occult frame of mind, I might have given my name with a K. Adam Cadmon, the Kabbalistic first man. The NPC goes into the back, leaving me standing there at the dark oak counter. The computer humanity of London streams along the Strand outside behind me through the plate glass window. The bank teller comes back with a little slip of paper on which is written in neat copperplate handwriting the figure £2,000. Now, £2,000 is a ton of money in 1927. I smile. All my money worries are over, at least in Darkworlds. I arrange to withdraw £200 and get it as two £50 notes, and the rest in big white fivers. I nod and smile, happy, despite him acting as if I'm an interloper. Then I'm back on the Strand. I consult my HUD again and travel to train timetables and routes to see that trains to Croydon start from London Victoria. That's a bit of a walk, but because I'm loaded, I hail a taxi. When the black cab pulls up, I get in and close the door, and the two-stroke engine has a pleasant thrumming sound as we motor west and south, through Trafalgar Square, then past Buckingham Palace until my driver stops outside the station. I give him a big tip from my change. I know he's only an NPC, but my tip makes him smile. An intelligent NPC, then. I stroll into the station, smoky with steam and the smell of burning coal from the engines. There are lots of people here too, and shops. Men stand selling newspapers, shouting out the headlines, shouting above the hissing of steam trains. From the billboards, the Soviets have executed some British subjects for spying. A Pole shot the Russian ambassador. I guess the news is accurate. Darkworlds is always accurate. A bristle-chinned man who could do with losing a few pounds is selling roasted chestnuts in brown paper bags. I think of getting some, then I remember I don't like chestnuts in real life. Maybe I will in Darkworlds. That would be weird. Two me's. I check the posters with the timetables. I have 15 minutes before the Croydon train, so I wander around the station and find of all things an occult supplies shop. Hard to believe the real 1920s Victoria Station has a Lovecraft-style occult store, and the shop next to it is a gun store. Again, unlikely, but this is a role-playing game after all. I step into the gun shop. I need some ammunition, so I buy 2 boxes of 9mm bullets from the mutton-chopped shopkeeper, who looks like a refugee from Victorian times who would prefer to be spending his time shooting grouse in the Highlands. Then I see that as well as normal lead-tipped bullets, he has a notice advertising silver bullets. I raise an eyebrow. Silver bullets? Popular among lycanthrope hunters, he says dryly. Really? Do you get many lycanthrope hunters? He nods. Regularly. He twists his mouth. Some say silver bullets are also useful against vampires, but myself, I prefer a steak. He looks at me knowingly. We have steaks. I smile awkwardly. No steaks this time, but I'll take a box of silver bullets. You never know. He wags his finger at me with a laugh. You never know, sir, never indeed. After I buy my bullets, it's time for the train. I sit in the Pullman carriage, and after a minute, there's a bump, whistle, and the indecipherable shout of the guard, and the train moves off. We chuff our way through the dirty back streets of South London, and I settle down for the journey to Croydon, which my HUD tells me is just over 9 miles. I zone out and check my character sheet while we travel. Name, Adam Cadmon. Profession, Anglican priest. Address, no fixed abode. Level 9. Guild, Ordo Lux Lucis. Available skill points, 100. Health, 900 out of 900. Mana, 900 out of 900. Sanity, 100 out of 100. Reputation, 15 out of 100. Skills. Diplomacy, 45. Persuade, 15. Seduction, 2. Intimidation, 3. Empathy, 45. Latin, 60. Greek, 45. Hebrew 20, German 25, religious law 90, ritual 40, first aid 30, drive car 30, pistols 50, rifles 20, clairvoyance 25, alchemy 410. Known spells: thrust. Apply a thrust of mental energy to knock an enemy 6 feet away from you. Cost 10 mana. Minor healing. Heal 50 health points damage. Cost 10 mana. 1 hour cooldown. I need to spend those 100 skill points. And then we pull into Croydon Station. The train stops and everyone gets off. A green and white bus sits outside with Croydon Airport up as its destination. The destination name is printed in white on a roll of fabric that the driver shifts round depending on where he's headed. The journey doesn't take long, and soon I am by the low building that is the waiting room and customs post and border control too. Outside on the tarmac, propeller-powered aeroplanes hurtle along the runway before lifting laboriously into the cloudy sky. They don't look very safe. I step off the bus and walk into the building and find the Imperial Airlines desk. A handsome, lantern-jawed man in a blue uniform sits there, waiting for me. "Ticket to Paris, please," I say. "Return? I haven't thought of that. Maybe I won't be coming back." "Single for now, please." "Of course, Reverend. Will you be wanting to travel on our new Silver Wing service?" "Silver Wing?" "Yes, Reverend. Just started last month. It is true first-class travel in the air. We have a chef on board, and the menu is totally à la carte." I scratch my head. "How long is the flight?" 2 hours, 30 minutes, sir. You will be in the very modern and reliable Armstrong Whitworth Argosy aeroplane. It's the very best. I have the money, so why not? I agree to buy the ticket. "That sounds splendid. Can I take your name, Reverend?" I give him my name and £3.10. I turn to look out at the chairs where I can wait for the flight when I notice a stunning blonde woman in a slim-fitting black dress with white piping. She wears a black cloche hat with a rose embroidered on it in silver, and she's looking straight at me. She's also wearing a red rose in her lapel. "Reverend Cadmon?" she asks tentatively. There's no one else round here in the dog collar, so it's a fair bet that I am he. I take off my hat to reveal my shaved head. "Sally Morgan," she says. "I believe we're travelling to Paris together."